Okay, I think we are live. Hello, lovelies. Happy Thursday. I hope you all are well. I feel pretty excited that I am 3 days in. No, 4 days. That this is my fourth day. So I'll do a little bit of an introduction. I'll say hello and welcome. Welcome to my channel. I'm Kiala Givehand. I am your creative tour guide on this journey. I used to say that in my first year of live streaming. So welcome. This is April 2024, and I've been away from YouTube for a while, so I am trying to reconnect to my YouTube community, to my love for YouTube, to my own creative flow and energy here. I'm coming into, I've created this series called ABCs of Me, and my goal with this is to show up every single day for the month of April and do a little vlog. Sometimes I will be teaching something like today. I don't know if it's so much as teaching as showing you and walking you through, letting you be present as I make a thing, and invite you along on the journey. This is day D, A, B, C, D. Yep, this is day D in the letters. And so we're going to be talking about, I made a little list for myself to try to keep myself organized. We're going to be talking about Domino journals, which is the thing we're going to make today, I think. Maybe we'll see how I feel. Drawing, divination, deconditioning, my depth year, doodles, double pamphlet stitching, and being a double Capricorn. I'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk a little bit about, I want to share a little bit about some of the degrees I have done and what they have sort of meant for me and how they show up in my life right now. Talk about the decans of tarot and deep diving. I'll talk a little bit about deep diving, not deep sea diving, just to be clear. And the Do journal, which is one of my favorites. And I'll talk a little bit about divine duality. And then I will answer questions. In fact, I'm actually going to start by answering some questions. I had a couple of questions that came up, and I have put them, I tried to be really smart and put them on a, what is this thing? On a Google Doc so that I could see them easily. So I'm going to answer these questions. Let's start with that. The first question, hang on, I'm trying to do too many things at once. Okay, so the first question that I got, I won't say people's names because these were sent to me via email. If you've asked me a question in the chat, like in the comment section of each of these replays, then I've just answered you there. But if you went the extra step and sent me an email, I'm going to answer them live on, as I go throughout the days. And I won't say your name because I take it to mean if you sent it to me privately, maybe you didn't want to put it as a comment. Okay, so I'm just going to trust that, and I won't be saying people's names just for, privacy. And I also want people to be able to send me questions that feel harder to ask without feeling any kind of public judgment around that. So let's start with some questions. So the first question, and hold on, there's only 3 for today, I think. Yep, 3. So the first one was, hi Kiala, I'm new to your channel. A friend shared your video from the April 1st with me, and I love your energy. First of all, thank you. I appreciate that. The question goes on. You mentioned Artsy Meetup and Artsy Marathon. One is free and one is not. Can you explain the difference in the two and give me a link to find them? So to the person who sent me this, first thing I'll say is the link is actually in the description of every single video I've posted for the last, I don't know how many years, like 5 years probably. And it's pretty simple. It's bit.ly/art meetup. You can also go to my website, KialaGivehand.com, and there's a link that says work with me, and you'll see Artsy Meetup in that list. You'll also see Artsy Marathon. So the difference between the two, Artsy Meetup is a free monthly gathering on Zoom for people in my community. And it is a combination of things. It's like a time to just come together and create together. It's also a, sometimes I have a guest teacher. Sometimes I'm the one teaching. It just depends. And so that is a free thing. I used to give a 24-hour replay. That has become increasingly more difficult to do. So I haven't done that. But people who are in the paid Artsy Marathon get the replays for the meetups each month. I'm working on trying to find a way to still give a 24-hour access to the replays. I just haven't gotten there yet, but I'm working on it. Because I used to do that when I was using a different platform. And so even if you couldn't make it live to the free Artsy Meetup, you could go watch the replay for 24 hours. So I'm working on trying to get that back together. But Artsy Marathon is a thing that I started. I think we've done it 3 times now. And it is on December 31st of every year until I just can't do it anymore. I invite 20 some odd teachers and myself, and we have an art marathon, an overnight, sort of like a overnight pajama party, online virtually. And we just create to bring in the new year. And the first year we did it was 2022, bringing in 23, I think. Or was it 21, bringing in 22? I think it might have been 2021, bringing in 2022. And so we did 22 hours of art. Then at the end of 22, to bring in 2023, we did 23 hours, I think. Y'all would have to help me here. I can't remember if the number of hours we did. And then this last year we did 24 hours. And I said to people at the end, we won't be doing 25 to bring in 2025, but we will still have an Artsy Marathon. So I hope that answers your question. The Artsy Marathon it's a one overnight creative marathon. And I have some really fun things planned for this coming year, so I will be doing it again. Haven't invited new teachers yet, but the old teachers that are my tried and trues, they already know to block their calendars off. And then I will be inviting a few new teachers, some that I think you all know, and maybe a few that you don't know. I try to invite teachers that are kind of like already out in the world doing this work, and then people who are doing this but maybe don't have bigger numbers and bigger names, because I know what it was like to be somebody who was just starting out and didn't have a big audience, but was doing really good work in the world. I thought I was anyway. So I know what that feels like, to see that people are always getting chosen just based on the numbers they have and not necessarily on the work that they're doing. So I try to bring in people who I think are also doing really amazing things in their work. So there's that. And then, so that's the distinction between those two. So I hope that answers your question. And you can find more about both of those on my website, KialaGivehand.com. All right, question number 2. I found this one very interesting. And I almost just was not going to answer it live online, but I was like, I'm going to answer it because I want to move past my own insecurities. And I feel like this question brought up a few of my insecurities. So here's the question. It was really great to see you on your YouTube live the other day. I was surprised, though, how dark the circles are under your eyes. I hope you're resting. It really looked like you had a black eye. I hope everything is okay with you. And I thought, that's curious. So I went back and I watched my video and I was like, my eyes have had dark circles under them since I was a baby. My baby pictures have those dark circles under my eyes. And I am anemic. I have anemia. I was diagnosed with it when I was like 12 or 13. But I think I pretty much have had it all my life because my mother was also anemic and her mother was anemic. And so I think it just, that bloodline kind of passed that down. And I think that those dark circles are a result of that. My mother, in every picture I've ever seen of her going back, also. So I think it is just in my DNA, honestly. I don't even pay attention to it as much. Now, when I have not rested, dark circles under the eyes are not what me being not rested looks like. Like the dark circles under my eyes, that's pretty standard. I also think, depending on the lighting I'm in and all that kind of stuff factors in as well. So I will say this, you were seeing me probably, I think it was yesterday was the only day so far I've been where you're seeing my face. And it was a high def camera, like a high definition camera. So you probably were seeing the pores in my skin as well. So just to be clear, don't have a black eye, have always had dark circles under my eyes. I don't, so much so that it doesn't even register for me. But when I am not rested, what actually I look like is very red bloodshot eyes when I'm not rested. Also, when I'm not rested, I have a very difficult time being anywhere that has a lot of light. So very squinty eyed. And then the other way that it looks when I'm not rested is like really, really, what's the word I'm looking for here? Oh, I can't even think of my words right now. That might also be a sign of not being rested. So anyway, my point is I will say this though, the circles are darker when I have not been taking my iron consistently. And I may or may not have been taking my iron consistently lately. Sometimes I'm really, really good about it, and sometimes I'm really bad about it. So thank you for your concern. I am actually well. I'm actually feeling better, doing better than I have been in the last 5 or 6 years, honestly. Again, I will talk more about menopause on day letter M, uh, because it tried to take me out, y'all. Menopause did, but I am not going down that easily. So I've been doing a lot of work personally around helping my body lean into menopause because it's not really something we need to fight. It's a part of the female anatomy in our bodies. That is, if we live long enough, our bodies are going to go through that. I just happen to be going through it early, what they call early onset, because I started in my late 40s. So I am, so I think that the darker circles, the anemia, all that is connected and combined. And so, yeah, I'm actually doing a lot better than I have been in the last 5 or 6 years since the whole menopause started. And so thank you for your concern, but I'm good and I appreciate that. Okay. And the last question for today, you have mentioned human design several times now. I had a human design reading last year from a woman who told me that I was doomed to live a life where everyone projects their stuff onto me. That made me feel like crawling into a ball and never coming out again. I don't think human design is helpful if that's how it makes people feel. And that question made me sad, y'all. First of all, any person who is doing the work of helping other people know themselves better through human design, through astrology, through tarot, if you're using it to fearmonger, to make people like less empowered, shame on you. Like that's not good. And I'm so sorry that that happened to you, the person who sent me that message. I'm so sorry that that happened to you. I almost want to gift you a reading so that you can get a reading from me that is more empowering and more like I don't shy away from the stuff in our charts that are difficult, but I also don't highlight them, focus on them, and make you feel like you're like crawling into a ball and never coming out again. Like that is that breaks my heart to think that someone would do that with these tools that are so amazing and have so much power to help people transform their lives. So the best thing I can say to you is I think you had someone who maybe, and I don't know who it was. I don't need to know. In fact, I think it's better that I don't know who gave you that reading. But I will say that people are human. We have to give people grace and space. So I would like to give that person some grace and space and say maybe they were having an off day. Maybe they were taught by someone who did not teach them the nuances of being able to give a reading that feels empowering for people, even if they have difficult things in their charts. So we're going to give that person a little space and grace. And then to the person who sent me the question, my heart is going out to you. I hope that you either go to someone who can give you a different reading so that you can feel a little more empowered. And I don't know your chart, but projected energy in human design is usually means you are a 5-1 profile line, or maybe you're a 6-2 because a 2 line is also a projection line, or maybe you have very heavy 5 or 2 energy in your charts or in your chart. And so that may be why that person said that. But I personally feel like people who have a 5-1 profile, you guys have a superpower. So if that is your case, the person who sent me this question, if that is you and you have a 5-1 profile line, please come book a call with me. I am happy to show you how being a 5-1 can actually be a superpower for you. If you're a 6-2, same thing. Or if you're a 2-4, if you have any of that 2 or 5 energy in your profile, I'm happy to help you explore how it's actually more of a superpower than anything else. So I'm sorry that that happened to you, and I hope that you are still out there living your life, and yeah, just didn't let that really truly shake you. So okay, and to anybody who is fearful of getting these kind of readings, astrology, human design, or tarot, because you fear what might be on the other side of it, find a good reader in any of those 3 areas who understands how to talk to you about shadow work, how to talk to you about deconditioning, which I'm going to talk a little bit about that today, how to talk to you about the heart parts of your chart without making you feel like doom and gloom, because there's lots of opportunity for growth, expansion, and like empowerment, even in the stuff that feels heavy, right? Okay, so that's all I'm gonna say about that. Again, I'm sorry that that happened to you. I hope that you will not give up on human design, because it really is a really powerful thing. Come back on day H for human design, where I'll be talking about human design. Okay. Yay, we got through questions. That was fun. That was good. Okay, so now what I want to talk about today. Let me show y'all this little domino journal that I made. This was one of the Book in a Day books that I did in 2013. So it's probably on my channel. And there's a funny story behind this. I took this class with a woman, maybe in 2010. So a few years before, maybe it was probably like 2010, 2011, maybe even 2012, somewhere in there. And I don't remember her name in this moment. I probably have it somewhere on my YouTube channel. And I made this journal. No, I don't think I made this journal. I made a journal. Maybe it was this one. In her class. Nope. Sorry, I'm rambling. I didn't make this one in her journal, in her class. I made another one in her class. And then for Book in a Day, I filmed myself making this one. And I did what I always do. I sped it up. I voiced over it. It wasn't like a step-by-step kind of tutorial. None of my Book in a Day videos are really meant to be tutorials. They were just me sharing my process. I gave her, like, I wrote her name, I'm pretty sure, in the description. And then because I felt like I was sending people to her. And so I sent a message, and I got a response back, not from her, from someone else, that basically said, please take the video down. And I was a little heartbroken by that, because I was like, oh, I was trying to promote you and, whatever. So anyway, I took the original video down of me making this journal and put up a different video that just said, hey, here's the journal I made, but I was asked to take it down, so here's just the book, right? But I'm going to go ahead and show this. It has been over 20 years at this point. Not 20, 10. So if that was in like 2010, let's say it was 2010, it might have been more like 2012. Even if it was in 2012, that was more than 10 years ago. So I'm just going to trust that it's okay for me to share this. And if it isn't, I'll deal with the fallout of that later. Because there's no malice in my heart here. I'm not trying to make money off of y'all from this. I'm not trying to benefit from it anyway. And I'm saying to you, I learned this idea from someone else. Okay. So I just want to name all of that because I don't want anybody thinking that I am trying to steal somebody else's idea and make money from it. I am not. I've never taught a class on this. I never will teach a class on this. But I am going to show a thing that I made. And so there you go. All right. So these are just dominoes, regular old dominoes. And I made a little book with my dominoes. And I love it. It's one of my favorite books that I've made for Book in a Day. And while I learned about how to color dominoes from her, everything else is me. Everything else in here, how I did my pages on the inside. And yeah, I love it. I love this little book. So this is my little domino book. And I just put a little few words. I mean, it's tiny. The space you get in there is tiny, y'all. So it's not like you can do a whole thing unless you're going to write really, really small. I mean, this paper is less than 2 inches tall and not even an inch wide, right? So it's really small space. So what I did, embrace the imperfection in life and art and love. And then I put my little colophon on the back. I called this little domino book Game On. And I wrote, Game On is a one-of-a-kind handmade artist book using recycled art and dominoes, created by Kiala Givehand in Oakland, California on March 21st, 2013, during week 12 of the Book in a Day series. So this was book number 12. You can probably go back and find that video I was talking about. And so this is recycled art because the base of it is from a different book that I had done for Book in a Day, and it was one of the offcuts where I had cut off the paper. You can see where I then took other pieces of painted paper that I had and glued it to the front. So this is what the paper looked like, just some stamps that I had used. And I took little pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 little pieces of painted paper and put them on like the little panels. And then I made, I had a typewriter at the time. So I used my typewriter and typed up these little words. This was a fun book to make. I actually really loved making this book. I'm not so happy about how I put my ribbon on. I think I was not paying good enough attention because I think I didn't mean to do it that way. I think also I was thinking I was going to wrap this somehow. So anyway, I wasn't happy about my, not so happy about my closure on it, but still today, I can't figure out how I intended to close this thing. But that's the beauty of making handmade books. I can make like 10 more of these now, right? If I wanted to. So there's that. Hi there, Mary from Port Jervis. And hello, Roseanne. Welcome back. And Linda and Darkroom Media. I think I know your actual name, Darkroom Media. I can't remember in this moment though. Okay, so that's that little book. So in after the class and after getting that kind of email back, I was like, okay, I need to develop my own sort of ideas around this. And so I just started playing with other things and other ways that I could work on these dominoes and do things with them. And so if you, like, I just feel like there's such a cute little thing. In fact, let's just take it out of bookland for a moment. Like, what other things could we do with these dominoes? I wonder. I feel like we could do some things with these dominoes. I'm going to take this one out because that is a technique that I learned from her. But all the rest of these are my own little experiments. Failed experiment right here. I did this and then it dried like overnight, I thought, and I started rubbing and this stuff came right off. So I think this was me trying to use a paint marker on it. Didn't work. So but that's how you find out what does work. You trial and error. So I'm going to play with some these two and just see with some new stuff that I haven't tried before. I've never tried like crackle paint on it. I've not tried black gesso. I haven't tried, what else haven't I tried? I said there were 3 things I was going to try. Black gesso, crackle paint. There was a 3rd thing, y'all, that I was going to try. Oh, I have some new paint pens that I was going to try. So while I'm playing with those things, I will talk about some of the other things on my list here. And if you all have questions, let me know. Glitter Girl says, maybe I missed it, but how did you get the rounded corners on papers adhered to the dominoes? Or are you just careful scissor handler? They are not rounded. I didn't round them at all. They are still very much squared off. I didn't round them. It may be hard to see because the color kind of blends right into the domino, but if you look right there, they are still square. I didn't round them at all. I don't even know that crossed my mind to try to round them. And also, let's talk about some of the imperfections. Like, look at that. The paper's hanging over a little bit here, you know. Yeah, so there's lots of imperfections in this that I could probably point out to y'all, but I won't point them all out. So I took out a few dominoes, and you can buy, like, literally, y'all, please don't buy expensive dominoes. Go to the dollar store, the thrift store, the Goodwill, I don't know, anything. Don't pay a lot of money for these. I paid $1 for these dominoes, and I mean, it's dominoes, so you're going to get at least 12 of them, right? So, I'm going to bring some paint markers out here. I think I'll also bring a Sharpie out while I do this. And what else? I feel like there was one other thing I was going to do. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to start with that. Oh, before I do that, let's do our card pull first for the day. We got to have a card pull, people. Let's see. I'm going to pick a deck that is nearby. I have a drawer full of them here. I love this deck. This is Power Thought Cards from Louise Hay. This was actually in a gift set. Sorry, my chair keeps locking on me. I can't move it. I try to move it. So these cards came from a gift set that I got from becoming a member of the Hay House Deck Club. I was one of the, like, I'm going to say they called us founding members, but yeah, we were like the first, something like 100 people or something to join it. So anyway, I got this little thing, and I love these cards. It's got a little velvet bag it comes in. It's quite a few cards, and I love the artwork on them, right? So let's take that card out because that one is just Louise Hay, and then that's a blank one. So I'm going to shuffle and just say, all right, what do we need? What do we need? What do we need to know for today? What can give us a good, I'm going to stay on for probably another 30 minutes or so just to complete the hour. So what do we need to know for the rest of our time together today? And I'm just going to go with this one. And maybe we'll get that one that was next to it. We'll grab two. All right. Awesome. So the first one, my healing is already in process. Boom. I love it. I'll take that. My healing is already in process. Yes, it is. And on the back, it says, my willingness to forgive begins my healing process. That's big, y'all. Forgiveness is a big deal and can also be very difficult, especially if somebody has hurt you. So forgiveness, that's a good one for day F to talk about too. So my willingness to forgive begins my healing process. I allow the love from my own heart to wash through me, cleansing and healing every part of my body. I know I am worth healing. I love that. I love it. Yep, I am worth healing. My heart can heal me. And forgiveness is the way that I begin that process. Perfect. This card says, I love and approve of myself. Yes. And I love the artwork. It's such a quirky little deck. I love that. I appreciate all that I do. I am good enough just as I am. I speak up for myself. I ask for what I want. I claim my power. Y'all take a screenshot of that. I don't know. Can y'all take screenshots? I don't know. I'm going to, I'm just going to hold it here for a second. And if you're watching the replay, you can just pause on this moment and copy down these affirmations. We talked about affirmations on day one. Affirmations are a huge part of my life, my work. I mean, I have a whole program built around intentions and affirmations. And so affirmations factor very heavily in my life and the work that I do. In fact, I believe that it is the use of affirmations that has helped me stay sane in this crazy world. So these are really great affirmations. I invite you all to bring them into your own art journals this week. I love and approve of myself. And I'll show a few more of these cards because I really think that they are just really cute. I love the artwork on them. Just really quirky, beautiful, colorful art. Very mixed media-ish. And I think they're just really cool. I like them a lot. They have a little diversity in them. I always look to see if decks have diverse energy and imagery in them because that matters to me as a woman of color, that I feel represented in the things that I use for my own healing process. So I won't show the whole deck because there's a lot of cards, but I think this is just a really cool little idea. Okay. All right, so those are our two cards for the day. I'm going to sit them out. Again, I love and approve of myself, and my healing is already in process. Two really good ones. All right. So now we can get to creating. All right, let me see. There was a couple things in the chat. What about the dominoes on the table? Is that paint or paper? The ones I was showing, those are that feels like that feels like a pop quiz because I did these in like 2013, so it's going to be this one, I think. Maybe alcohol inks with, I'm feeling the texture on it, so I think I probably did like alcohol inks with saran wrap, I think is what that feels like. This feels like it was maybe fluid acrylic, maybe. This failed experiment was, like I said, it was a glittery paint pen situation and it peeled right off. So I would say don't do that one. This feels very rough. So I think this was probably clear gesso tinted with something because it has that rough toothiness that gesso has on it, that clear gesso can have. And you can still kind of see the streaky brush strokes in it. So I feel like that was probably gesso tinted with something or other. This was, oh, this was, I think this was Distress Inks. Maybe. Were Distress Inks out in 2012, y'all? I think they were. But it was something that I put on a craft mat and just like swirled around like that and got that. So yeah, that's what I can remember in this moment. All right, so let's talk about, now some techniques don't work on these because they're really slick, and you could go the extra step to sand them down. Like you could, grab one of these little things that has the sheets of sandpaper, rip one off, and you could sand them down and get them all rough so that you can paint over them. I have not tried that. I can't speak to that technique. I don't know what that would be and do. I'm going to bring my little craft mat over here to work on. Because I don't know what is what here, but I can't remember. Can I use a Sharpie? Let's see. Let's find out. Sharpie works. Okay, so this is going to be my test domino. The Sharpie works. And if you've got a bunch of colors of Sharpies, I mean, Sharpies are alcohol based, right, y'all? So I even feel like, let's try something here. Y'all want to try? Y'all want to experiment with me? Let's experiment together. I'm grabbing. So I do a lot of lamination, things that are laminated. And so this is one of the offcuts, like when you cut everything out and you have a piece left. So it's plasticky, it's lamination. All right. So I'm wondering if I take a black Sharpie. Let's just see. And a little spray of alcohol, a little spritz of alcohol. Yep, that's already not sticking. Not doing anything. Let's find out though. I'm not going to count it out because, it could take time to dry. We're going to see. Let's see what happens. In fact, I'm going to speed up the process. Yes. Yes to that. Not coming off. It's on there. Oh, yeah. Okay. I don't think I have any. Do I have colored Sharpies somewhere? Let's find out. Because that's cool. And I just gave away a whole set of alcohol markers, y'all. Like literally a week ago. A whole set of them. Crazy pants. See, this is why I don't de-stash. Because then one day it comes back and I need it and I don't have it. All right. Let me pull up my big bin of markers here and see what I have in here. That might work. Dun, dun, dun. I mean, I have a lot of black Sharpie markers. I don't have a lot of colorful Sharpies. Are these oil-based or low odor, alcohol based. Look at that. All right, let's see if I can find a few more from that brand in my stash. I feel like this might be alcohol based too. All right, so while I'm looking for markers, let's also talk about some of the other D things. Drawing. Let's talk about drawing. I don't consider myself someone who draws very well. I can draw, especially if I sit down and really give it time and attention. I can draw. And there's a part of me, buried deep inside me, that wants to be better at it. And then there is the impatient part of me that doesn't always want to put in the time and effort and energy to become better at it. So I have this duality happening inside of me. I want to be better at drawing. I don't want to put the time and energy into drawing. However, this year, I said I was going to commit myself to drawing, to more drawing. Really make a go at it, an effort to draw. And not like I'm trying to be Picasso. But like, I think this is probably oil based. I don't know about this one. Nope, says alcohol based. Okay. So there's a part of me that wants to really learn how to draw and be better at it, get really good at it. I have lots of like characters and things in my head, worlds that I want to like draw out. I can see them vividly in my mind. I want to be able to draw them. I want to be able to take it from my imagination and bring it onto paper. And in order to do that, I either have to hire somebody who can draw it for me, or I have to learn how to draw. So I have really committed this year to trying to get better at drawing. And so I'm curious. I follow lots of people who are drawing teachers, I think. But those of you who've been on that journey of learning to draw, oh, that one's not been used ever. I would love to hear who are some of your favorite drawing teachers. Who are some of the people you have spent time learning from that you think are great and amazing? Clearly, I'm not using these markers. None of them have been used. Okay, 2 of them have been used. I'd love to hear who are your people. So I do follow, well, I feel bad now. I can't think of his last name. Danny. He's a sketchbook school person. Danny. I don't know. Gregory. Danny Gregory. So I follow him, and I actually signed up for a class he taught a long time ago. Y'all, when I say a long time ago, sometimes I mean 3 years. So just be take that with a grain of salt. It was probably pre-2020 that I signed up for it. He has this class. Ooh, I like that, what I'm getting there. He had a class called Learn to Draw Anything or something like that. All right, I think what I'm going to have to do is change up my technique here. And so I did sign up for that class. I still have it. And we talked the other day about having lots of classes that we don't complete. So I just need to probably go back through that class. I also have a class by Louis Rosenthal, I think is his last name. I might not be pronouncing that right. And he is, his art is very, I don't know how to describe it. I'm sure there's a name for the style of art. Does anybody know who I'm talking about? Louis, I think his last name is Rosenthal. He teaches on Carla Sondheim's platform. Oh, yes, Linda. I know exactly who you're talking about. And I hate trying to say her name because I never say it right. I think it's Kuja. Kuja. She was also part of Sketchbook School. Is a part of Sketchbook School. So yeah, she's another person. I haven't ever taken a class from her though. I've also taken classes because at one point I was like, I'm going to be an urban sketcher. So I've taken classes from Liz. Wow, her name went right out of my head. I'm going to go directly onto the domino and spritz that way and see what happens when I do that. Ooh, ooh, yeah, I like it. I like what I'm getting there. Do y'all see it? Oh, yes. More of that. All right, I feel like I need to, I'm going to use a stylus. I just want to move that purple around some. I don't want it to be so, yeah, it's not going to do what I want it to do. However, if I move the alcohol into it a little more, I might get some fun things. Y'all have to help me stay on track. Who was I talking about? Oh, Liz. Her course is called Sketching Now, but I cannot think of her last name to save my life. Liz something. She is an amazing urban sketcher. She does a lot of stuff with watercolor. She sketches buildings, architecture. I think she used to be an architect. Somebody out there knows who I'm talking about. Put her name in the chat for me. So I do have a class from her that I've not completed. Okay. I'm noticing that I'm losing some of what I'm liking about this. So I'm going to have to figure out. I'm going to try that again with this marker. Liz Kettle. No, Liz Still. Thank you, Evelyn. It's Liz Still. Liz Kettle is the slow stitcher. Stitch Meditations is Liz Kettle. Liz Still is the Sketching Now. Thank you, Evelyn. I knew somebody here would know. So yeah, I have classes by her. And I feel like there's at least one other person that I have a class by that is like specifically about drawing, right? I mean, I have lots of classes about lots of people doing lots of different things, but I'm just really lightly trying to get a drop. Okay. I'm not going to heat dry that. I'm just going to sit it to the side and let it dry on its own. All right. And while that's doing that, let's play with another one. Oh, I got all kind of stuff spritzed on that. Okay. I'm gonna, let me see. Have you all tried these Lyra, their new paint marker that they have, Lyra? Y'all probably know Lyra from, they make these water-soluble graphite sticks, and they make a bunch of other things too. I think I even have some Lyra crayons, like similar to the Caran d'Ache crayons, but they're by Lyra. I think they make those. They have a lot of different artsy products that they make. But they also make these paint markers that I wasn't aware of. I just learned about them maybe end of last year. And yeah, I really like them. They're actually pretty cool. So I don't know if this will even work on this. We're going to find out. I'm going to give it time to dry and we'll see what it does. So yeah, this year I'm going to start to try to do more drawing. I'm going to let that dry over all by itself. And I think I'm going to play a little bit more with these alcohol markers. Kind of just digging the purple and the blue. So I'm going to stick with that while I see if that acrylic thing dries in a way that will be good. I'm not going to keep doing it if it doesn't do anything. I'm going to try it differently this time. I'm going to see what happens if I kind of stamp into it and get some of the paint. It gives it a distressed look, kind of has a distressed look on that. Oh, that was way more than I meant to get. So drawing. So that's my commitment to drawing. And it's because I do have like things in my brain I want to bring out onto the paper. So we'll see how that goes this year. I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to play, but I am going to draw. Yesterday I mentioned about my depth year, DEPTH, depth year. And you can Google that. A few years ago, a person, I can't remember if it was a man or a woman, who wrote an article about taking a depth year, very similar to a gap year. You know how kids will take a gap year in college, or a gap year between high school and college? This person was pretty much writing about that concept. Well, the problem is I don't have a lot of alcohol in this spray bottle. So it's being weird. I'm just going to keep trying a bunch of different things here, y'all, and just see what it does. That definitely didn't do what I wanted it to do. Into a little swirly poo. All right, we'll see what happens. And so the idea of a depth year is that you take a year where you stop going wide, buying new things, buying more books, buying more, finding new podcasts to listen to, but instead you go deep with the books you have. You check your shelves. Have I read every single book that I've ever purchased? And you read the books you haven't read before. And you spend time with the things you already have. Instead of buying new clothes, you see how you might reimagine the clothes that you do have. You know, how can you pair up new things? Instead of, so there's a whole sort of thing behind it. And so in 2019, I was like, okay, I'm going to do a depth year. I like this. I like this idea. And I did. I wasn't as successful as I had wanted to be with it, but I feel like I was pretty darn successful. I didn't buy a lot of new things. I did make some parameters for myself. I was like, I'm not going to buy not a lot of new fountain pens, which for me is huge, by the way. Let's just name that huge. I said I wasn't going to buy a lot of new tarot and oracle decks, which also huge for me. But it was an interesting thing to, instead of buy a new deck, sit with a deck that I hadn't really been using a lot and work with it. Bring out some of my pens that don't get in the rotation often and really play with those. And so it was a beautiful experiment. I'm glad I did it. And I am not saying this year is a depth year, but that year, I think 2025 for me is going to be a depth year though. Because I want to do it for the whole year and I need to prepare for that. Right. So, but the idea is that even with like all my art supplies and stuff, like don't keep buying new matte mediums. Use up the matte medium that you have. Right. You don't need to have 5 different bottles. Like, obviously this was not in my depth year, but I have like 12 bottles of this. This is my favorite color. And I have seen paint companies stop making a particular color. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a problem. I need about 12 of those. So every time I would go to a store and it was on sale, I would buy one. That is the opposite of a depth year. Right? That's a year of like over consuming. So it's really interesting to just think about, what are some of the things, and you don't have to do a whole depth year, but like if you were going to go deeper with some of the things that you own, what would you go deeper with? Like, what would be the things that you would give yourself time and permission to go deeper with? Okay, that looks like it worked, y'all. That acrylic ink. So I am going to play a little more with the acrylic inks while the alcohol markers dry up some. See if we can get a little gold in there. So it's kind of like fiddle fern. Do y'all know fiddle fern? That one got a little wild on me. What was I going to say here? So, depth year. That's the whole thing behind a depth year, is that you start to just go deeper with the things you have. And I spoke about this with the creative writing on letter C day. I talked about this concept of, or this suggestion I gave. Oh, in fact, I brought some of my little studio note journals out for you to see. Okay. I'll come back to those in a second. But the idea of like writing about your process, like that's one way to go deeper with your creative process, is by writing about it. Y'all, I'm just doodling on this domino just to see what happens. So that is one way that you can have a depth year in your creative world. I was talking about the parameters that I gave myself around fountain pens in my 2019 depth year. So Lamy Safari, Lamy, the pen company Lamy, they make a pen called the Safari. And their Safari pen is one of my favorites. In fact, I have two of them sitting here on my table right now. But every year they put out at least one limited edition for the year. I think in 2019 they started putting out 2 a year, 2 colors in 1 year. Crazy pants. So I had already given myself the like, okay, I will only buy limited editions and special editions. And only if it is the companies that are like a part of my collection, which would be Lamy, Franklin Christoph, Twisby. Those are my 3 brands that I like collect. And so I was like, I'm only allowed to buy if it's those 3 companies. So those were the only fountain pens that I bought that year. And it was hard. It was so hard, y'all. No joke. So I invite you to think about doing a depth year. Let's see. Roseanne says, I really find the idea of a depth year, or was it depth? Yeah, DEPTH. And I'm going to talk about a death year in a moment, but a DEPTH, yes. So interesting. Hopefully we'll be able to join in again over the next few days. Take care. Thanks, Roseanne, for being here. Okay, so let's look at what we have here. That one's not fully dry yet, but it's getting there. But I kind of like what those markers did. That's pretty good. Kind of has a watercolory effect, which of course we know color would absolutely 1000% not work on these. It would slide right off. So I feel like, yeah, I feel like this is the markers, and kind of playing with the markers is a good way to go with this. These, I'm going to let that dry a little bit more before I start fiddling with it. But I feel like these are good. I think that could be a good front or back. But also, taking it out of the realm of a book for a moment, these could just be little works of art on their own. I mean, dominoes stand up on their own, right? So these could be like little works of art on your mantle or whatever, right? That you could play with. In fact, I'm even thinking about how I can make these into like a set of oracle dominoes. Ooh, that's what's happening over here, people. That's what I'm going to do. In fact, I'm going to keep playing with these while we are talking, because that's what's happening. That's what that's going to be. Yes, it is. So I'm going to bring out some more of my dominoes here. And keep working on those while I talk to you. So, yeah, DEPHT. So now to talk about a death year, DEATH, my card of the year in tarot this year is the death card, which is the number 13. People freak out about it. They're like, oh no, it's a death year. But I'm not afraid of that, because tarot isn't a scary thing. It's just about archetypes. The death as an archetype, death as a universal energy that we all contend with. We all are experiencing, tiny little deaths throughout the day, even. And what I mean by that is, like, you're making a choice of like letting one thing go in service of another thing. This thing has to kind of like metaphorically die for this thing to, right? So death it gets a bad rap, I think, in our current world, where we spend a lot of time sort of obsessed with this idea of death as a bad thing, as a negative thing. And yeah, I think it doesn't have to be seen as that. There's, like, if we take it from literal death and we talk about death and rebirth, right? I mean, the seasons tell us that things need to die and come back, right? Like that is metaphorically connected to that as well. So it's really about the idea of cycles. One thing ending in service of another thing beginning. And so that is what this year archetypally is, the energy that I'm traveling with this year. And I've already been kind of leaning into that in terms of like, okay, I told you I gave away alcohol markers the other day. And that makes room for something else, potentially. All right. So I'm just going to get all of these, as many. I'm going to keep with this little purple and blue theme that I have going on here. And I'm even going to let the purple and blue theme inform the words that I use for the oracle dominoes I'm making here. Where's this little buggy coming from? Hey. Okay, what else? Let's talk about divination. So this is a beautiful segue, since I've decided these are going to become a divination tool, essentially. is what I'm saying. I'm going to make myself a divination tool here, a tool for divining. It was so funny. Damon and I were talking the other day, and he was like, you know, there's some people in the world who kind of get themselves in a tizzy about the word divination. And yeah, I think if you look that word up, you'll see that divining is really about asking and receiving questions, or asking questions and receiving answers. And oftentimes those answers come from internal. They come right from inside of us. Like, they're not coming from, you know, the tool, tarot, oracle cards. They aren't necessarily, they aren't magic. We are magic. The magic comes from in us. Right? So in my online academy right now, I have a teacher who's teaching a class for us called Life as a Living Oracle. And in that class, we're learning a lot of different things, but mostly we're learning how to listen to ourselves. We're learning how to listen and see the signs and the symbols around us, and then go inward for, like, what does that mean for me? Like, what does it mean if you keep seeing a red bird or a cardinal outside your window, right? Could that have some significant meaning for you? What is the bug? Maybe it means something. Maybe it's a message. What does it symbolize for you? So, I mean, that's one aspect of divination. Another is looking at the tools that we have at our disposal. I mean, you could use jelly beans for divination. It doesn't have to be tarot and oracle cards, you know. Those just happen to be convenient and easy tools to use. Let me take the lid off of this and see if I can't do some drops and drips to see what I get. So the way I think about divination is, I think of myself definitely as a diviner. I'm always getting signs and messages, and there's always like little synchronicities happening around me all the time. And I don't take them lightly. I really don't. Like, I really lean into, okay, wait, now that's not coincidence. I don't believe in coincidence, first of all. And I also don't think every little thing is a sign, and you know, but sometimes things are it's just too obvious. I'm like, oh, that's too obvious. I'm going to put these two together and see what I get. I feel like the world is noisy, and divination is a way for us to sit down, be in conversation with whatever it is you consider to be divine in the world, and hear yourself more clearly. What does your heart and soul really want? Like, I know some people do that through meditation. Some people say meditation is a form of divination, right? A way for you to get quiet enough to hear. Now, some people would say that I'm mixing intuition, the idea of intuition, with divination. I think just because of who I am and how I receive messages, I think that divination is happening all the time. It's just always happening. I'm always paying attention to the signs and symbols and the synchronicities in the world, right? Like, if I call my mother and when she answers the phone, she goes, "Oh my God, I was just thinking about you." That's not a coincidence to me. When you're thinking about your best friend and then they just happened to call you, not a coincidence. Oh, this is killing me that this won't come out. It's just so low. It's not enough in it. So yeah, so divination, I say, you know, if it piques your interest at all, to go, what if universe, God, source, whatever word you want to use there, is really trying to communicate with me? Right? Maybe it's through your dreams. Right? Maybe you're seeing things play out in your dreams, and then you wake up the next day and you see those same things show up in some way in your reality. Like maybe that's how they're trying to get the messages to you. That's how your soul is trying to speak to you and get through to you, to say, hey, here's what we need. Here's what we want. Looks like I'm favoring this blue. I think it's because the blue is just easier at this point. All right, last one for this little set. So divination is a big part of my world, of my teaching life. I have a whole program built on learning different divination tools. I even have a class on creating tarot and oracle card decks for divining and for other people to use as divination tools, right? So I've devoted a good portion of my life to studying divination, to being a diviner. And I feel like, if I'm being honest, some people won't agree with this, and that's okay. Many of us, when we are doing mixed media art, we are divining. You might not like to think of yourself as divining, right? But you kind of are. You're divining with your art. All right. Some of you, and this is why I said, please spend some time getting to know your art. Sit down with it, have a conversation with it. What is it trying to tell you? I can look at this. I can't tell you the number of times I have watched people on YouTube, on Instagram, doing a flip through of their journals and their, notebooks or their art that they're making. And it is literally showing me everything that they are celebrating, everything they're struggling with, everything they are suffering through every time. Like I can literally see it right there. And even when they think it is the most innocent thing, like, oh, I just did a bunch of swatches. No, it's not just that. It's not just swatches, right? Like our art is also a form of divination for, even if we aren't going into it with that intention, that's exactly what it is. I'm going to bring this one over here because it feels like it fits with this little theme I got happening here. This one too. Let's bring it. I mean, I think they can work together. We'll make it work together. We're going to say it works together. How about that? All right, how many do I have? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19. Oh, 19. 19 is a special number for me, so we're going to trust that that's meant to be. Yeah, that doesn't go. I'll leave it out. Okay, so I'm going to make sure these are completely dry. I'm going to give them a moment to dry. While they're drying, I am going to show you what I was talking about with the fill notes. So yesterday I talked about making little studio note journals so that you can write about your art. You can be in conversation with your art. I feel like this is a practice of mine that has made my relationship to my art and my growth as an artist really powerful. I have to be careful what I'm showing here because some of this stuff is pretty private. So I'm not going to actually open them up just in case. I just wanted to show you. So this one was one. So let me back up and say fill notes, studio notes to me are the same thing. And they are just little journals that I keep handy so that when I'm done, so for instance, when I'm done with this, I might sit down and write about not just the process of what worked and what was really cool about this, but like what sparked that moment for me to go, oh, this is a divination tool that I'm making here. Right. I'll write about that. I'll write, right. So I will just sort of brain dump my process. Not that I'm trying to nitpick the process or anything like that. I might talk about what worked, talk about the aha moment between the Sharpie marker, right? Just not so much even in service of remembering because I'll come back to it for anything. Maybe I will. It will be documented for that purpose, but that's not the reason I'm documenting it. The reason I'm documenting it is because now I get to be in conversation with my process and with my product, what came out of the process. And this isn't something that has to be done like immediately, but I wouldn't wait 3 weeks. If I really want to sit and be in conversation with this that I just did, I wouldn't wait that long. The most I might wait is a day, 24 hours, but it's about capturing that essence. How did I feel when I was doing this? Like I probably will write down that I was doing it on a YouTube live and that, I was able to bring in ones that had done previously that have a completely different technique on them, but they seem to go together. What does that say about me as an artist? I have a particular style. I like this watercolory effect of things, right? When I look at these, the ones that are bringing me the most joy are the ones that look very watercolory, kind of ethereal. I like this little one that I doodled and played with, but I like these more. Right? I don't hate this one. What this one really showed me is it just reminds me of the color palette that I love. Right? So if I were going to put some finishing touches on these, I might actually come in and put a little bit of that red earth paint pen or this deep blue. I don't know the color. What is it called? It's one of my favorites, though. I like it. Slate gray color, right? I might swatch that marker in here and say, this is the marker that I used, right? So these are all just little notes that I'm leaving myself to be in conversation with myself as an artist, but also just with my process. So this is just some cardboard paper. You can say I actually used dental floss to make this one. This was one I made that with dental floss. Okay, so I feel comfortable sharing this one. So I usually do an intentions page on the very first of all of mine. This is the stickers from 2019, which means this book is likely from 2019. I usually try to date things. I'm going to just lift that over here. I usually date them on the inside somewhere. Oh, I love it when I go back through these and I find things and I'm like, oh, wow, yeah. I even put in the back of this supplies that I love, right, as I was working through these pages. So I'll often set an intention at the very beginning of the journal. This journal is for documenting my process for the journals I make. I will record measurements and steps when needed to edition books or just to remember what I did. Right. So that's the intention for the journal, for this little studio notes. Right. So, and then when I run out, I just make another one. Like, I don't care if they're all identical, if they all look the same. I'll clip things in. What did I clip in there? Oh, I always do a little pen testing on the pages just to see how certain pens work with the paper that I'm using. So these are things that are repetitious for me that I do all the time. This is another one that I made. Let me see if I can open it up. I'm always being mindful. Oh, this is another thing that I do. So this is actually one that I made to take with me to a workshop that I was attending. I wasn't teaching. I took a workshop with Orly Avenary. I want to say this was in 2018, 2019, probably 2019. And so, yeah, while I was at that workshop, I was just jotting down. Let me see what I did in here. Oh, yeah, did an intentions page. Oh, this brings back so many memories. There was a little thing that she gave each of us. So that's in there. Some other, juiciness that I wrote a little note to myself. So I have to go back. I'm sorry that I'm not showing it to y'all on camera, but there's some personal things in here that I want to just kind of keep to me. And oftentimes I'll put a little, and I think what I did too is I went to this training or this workshop with a group of other women. There were like 4 of us that went together. And I gave each of them one of these little notebooks. Not necessarily that they had to use it for that, but I gave each one of them this. And I have a little stamp that has my then little logo that I was using. And yeah, so sometimes I make a field guide. To me, this is the difference between a field notebook and a studio. This was like me here in my studio. Anything that says field notes is me out in the world, right? Like, you know how archaeologists and bird watchers and people like that will have field notes. Like that's to me the distinction to field notes. So this was another one. I'm just looking through it before I open it up. Where I started by swatching out the colors I was going to be working with on a particular project. I didn't put a label on this one for some reason, but this was just some coffee stain paper. I just made a look like, again, it's just a simple 3, but I have stacks of these, y'all. This, I just grabbed a few from over there, but I have stacks of these. Like, if I were to line them up, they'd probably line all the way across from here to the other side of my wall over there, right? Because they're just simple. They can fill, you can fill them pretty quickly. And then it's really fun to sit down like I'm doing right now, go through them and be reminded of things. Like literally, I'm going to read it after we get off, after I go stop this live. Something that I wrote to myself during Orly's workshop. I was kind of going through an interesting transition moment in my life when I went to that workshop. And so I left myself a little note in there that I am like, oh my gosh. And again, I don't believe in coincidence. I believe I was meant to see it today. There's something in that I wrote to myself that I need today, right? That I hadn't even anticipated. So you can't make this stuff up. So that's that. The question, how many pages do you typically put in one of these studio books? So this was really thin paper that I used for this one. It's actually Tomoe River paper. So it probably has, I'm going to do a little guesstimate here. It's probably got about 40 sheets of Tomoe River, but Tomoe River paper is really thin Japanese fountain. Well, those of us in the fountain pen world like to say it's for fountain pens. But it's a really, really thin, sturdy paper, and it takes fountain pen ink very well. So that one probably has about 40 sheets of that. This one, which has mixed media paper in it and a few bits and bobs that are like I got a piece of kind of brown paper in there. Not a lot of that, but let's see. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This one has 8, so that gives me about 16 sheets, roughly 16 pages. 8 sheets, 16 pages, roughly. This one I did a special little double pamphlet, so it has. This one probably has about. I would say it's probably got about 5 sheets per signature in there. This one I didn't even do. This was when I taught a class out at Sacred Makers, Mixed Media Narrative, and I actually had everybody make themselves one. So it just has like a little ribbon to tie it together. It's not even truly bound. Like if I took this apart, this would just come apart. And this one probably has 7. There's 7, so fold it. You end up with about 14, 21. Yeah, so it doesn't take a lot. It really doesn't take a lot. So field notes and studio notes. Do it. Do it. Keep it simple and do it. All right, loves. Let's see what else. Yeah, there's lots of other stuff I said I was going to talk about today, but I think I will think about how I think what I'm going to do to get words on this, to get words on these, I think I've got a bunch of strips over here. So I have this jar, this little mug that I love. I call it my unicorn mug because it's kind of shimmery. I don't know if y'all can see the sort of iridescent, but it does not keep tea hot for anything. Like it, I can put tea in here and 2 minutes later, it's almost like it cools the tea down. So I was like, yeah, let's take this out of the kitchen. We're going to take it out of rotation. And I just keep all of my long strip off cut bits in this because yeah, it's not doing anything for me and my tea. So I have some strips over here. I'm wondering if I want them to be phrases so I can have a little more space. If I just want to do one word kind of things. I think I'm going to go long ways. That'll be different. Yeah. Okay. So I also, because just, numerology is really big for me. So I'm going to look at, I got a 1 and a 3. I'm going to look at the numbers on these to kind of give me a direction to go. Oh, I got a 0, 1, 3. What if I have a 2? Oh, I have a 2 in here. Let's see how many I have that are actually in order. I'm going to put my doubles over here and just see how this can inform. How can the numbers on the back of these inform another double? These have a 6 on them. That has a 1, 3, 3, 3, 2, and 2. This one also has a 2. So I'm just lining them up. I just want to kind of see what they might be trying to tell me, if anything. All right, so anytime I have doubles of anything in life, I'm like amplified energy. So these will have some real power words on them, I think, some power phrases because they're double energies. And I might just like, for instance, 5s. 5s are all about change and conflict and chaos and action. So this domino might have the words take double action or take 2 steps or something like that. Like something that really reminds me of the double energy of action. 2s are all about balance and patience and cooperation, community in a way, choices. You've got 2 choices in front of you. So this might be the double energy of maybe it's like you need extra patience today if you pull this one. So that might be what that one is for. 3s are interesting because 3s are about expression and creativity and creation and social energy. So that'll be an interesting one to think about. 4s are about foundation and stability and hard work, reliability. So I might play with that because they're doubled and just see what I come up with around that. And then so when I start looking at the ones that have a 0 at the bottom, they're blank. To me, those are about, like I start looking at that and I go, okay, well then it's just the number that's pure. Anything that's like just 0 by itself, I always think full card energy, full archetype, that energy of the beginner, right? So I might do something like that that just says take a leap or start something new. Oh, in fact, let's just do that one. Let's do that one. So I'll do this one so you can see how I'm going to do it. That feels very stark white. Okay, so now I have this moment where I'm like, okay, I can't have just plain white paper. I can't have plain white paper. So I think what I might do here. Okay, let me test something. Let's test it out. I'm not going to do alcohol because I already know what that's going to do. Alcohol and paper don't really like each other that much. But water might do something. If it's alcohol based, it's probably not going to do anything. Yeah. Nope. I knew that in my mind. I knew that. But, well, I had to test it out, y'all. I had to just test it out. Also, why don't I test out this paper with alcohol and just see? Because different papers behave differently on different days. It's what I have learned. So let's try that one more time and see what we get. Also, I have some distress stains, something or other somewhere. Oh, never mind. I'm not doing any of that. I'm using this. This is what I'm doing. This is Daler Rowney Pearlescent Liquid Acrylic. And I don't have my glasses over here, so I don't know what this says, but I'm just going to try to put it up to the screen and see if it would. Oh. Galactic Blue. Galactic Blue. Come on. Of course. Anything with galactic, cosmic, I'm there for it. I am there for it. Ooh! I'm also there for throwing things around in my studio. I'm sure y'all are getting a kick out of this. You have to be. I hope you are. Okay. So, put a little. Well, that's lovely. I think it's clogged up. That shows you how long it's been since I used it. Come on. You can't make this stuff up. This is crazy. This is how long it's been since I opened this and used it. It's all clogged up. I'm not going to take time to try to clean it in this moment. I'm just going to do this. The water to water that acrylic paint down. And then I'm just going to drag my, I think that'll be good. Just going to drag that paper in it. Going to do that with a couple pieces. Let that start drying. I'm going to bring in my heat tool in a second, but let me see if I can find a few more pieces of this. I think this was watercolor paper at some point that I used in some project somewhere for something. So I have a few strips of it in my unicorn mug. I don't need it to be double-sided because it's going to get glued down. Okay, I feel like there was something else I was talking about. I'm going to talk about, y'all. Did y'all see that I put the link for the woman who does the postcards, the fabric postcards I was talking about? I put a link in yesterday's replay. Roseanne says, is there a source or website that would be a good introduction to human design? Yes, let me think carefully because not all sources are created equal, and I want to send you to a good one. So let me think for a minute. Where I have my human design clients and students, where I have them pull their charts from, is mybodygraph.com. mybodygraph.com. And they have a lot of sort of basic information there for you. So that might be a good place to begin. That might be a good place to start. Okay, that feels like it might be enough to get me started here. So let me move these out of the way. Oh, I kind of like that side even better. But I'm thinking, just going back to my little color palette that I got going on, that I may Givehand Archive is also good for human design because it takes you through, it gives you information on the person who sort of channeled this system. His name is Ra Uruhu, and he I think the Givehand Archive people are like the keepers of his teachings and the keepers of his sort of legacy archive of his stuff. And it's really important, in my opinion, it's really important to, there are different types of human design out there, two in particular, and his is the traditional, right? Like he is the person who channeled the information. Oh, did I get that wet? I think I did. And so so Givehand Archive, Jovian, I think is how they spell it. Givehand Archive. Is another place I would send you. And I think you can also get a free chart from them as well. And there's a part of me that thinks maybe Givehand Archive and the people at My Body Graph are connected in some way, but don't quote that. That might not be accurate. So I am going to, I'm going to be a weirdo. And clip all of these together while I dry them so they don't fly all over my table. I'm sure that is really loud for y'all. I apologize. I think there may be a way for me to mute myself next time. I'll check into that. All right. Was this the one? Yes, the 00. Oh, I don't actually like that color so much with that. Maybe I'm just going to write on them. How about that? How about I do that? Where I just write on them. Let's give it a try. Start today. Let's see if those two together will work. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'll just write on them. I have some good colors here that I can work with. So I think that's what I'll do. I'm just take those out so I remember. I don't need all the colors, but I think I have. I might even be able to use white on some of the pink ones. We'll see. I'm going to keep it simple though. Probably not white. Okay. All right. So to round us out for today, there are a few things I didn't talk about, but I think it's fine. I'll bring those back in other days. I am, tomorrow, letter F. Let's see. I have a list here. What's the letter F? Obviously, fountain pens are letter F. I thought I had a letter F somewhere. Maybe I don't. Maybe I do not. Here's my original list. Letter F tomorrow. Fountain pens, obviously. We'll talk about fountain pens. We'll talk about fabric journals. Maybe we'll even make a fabric journal. We'll see. What else do I have here? Oh, I also wrote on for F fan books. Maybe we'll do a fan book tomorrow. I have to think about it. Flexagons, flower fold books. I have lots of things under F. Flaps and flip outs in your books. The French door book. Oh my gosh, so many books under the letter F. A, B, C, D, E. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Angelise. It's tomorrow's E. Look at me jumping ahead. I'm just trying to get to the fountain pens, y'all. Let's keep it real. Okay, let's back it up. Thank you, Angelise. Angelisa. Letter E is tomorrow, apparently. I'm going to talk about energy work, working with energy, entrepreneurship, embroidery, and I don't know, maybe also I will talk a little bit about, did I say entrepreneurship? I think I did. I'll talk a little bit about, hold on, I had a list. Oh yeah, we'll spend a good bit of time with embroidery tomorrow. I looked at my other little pull-out list that I had here, and I'm going to show y'all some stuff, show you some projects I'm working on. I'll show you some of the patterns and things I was talking about on day, I don't remember what day. So yeah, we'll do that. And then tomorrow might be a shorter day because I don't have a lot of rambling maybe that I'll be doing. So I'm going to keep working on these because I just basically gave myself a new project to complete. So I'm going to complete this. I talked a lot about my 100-day project on days 1 and maybe even days 2 and 3. And because of that, and I now have to complete this project because I'm trying to not just start new projects for the sake of starting them, but to complete them. So I'm going to sit here and write on these dominoes, and I'll show them to you tomorrow. Maybe we will pull from these tomorrow to see what we get. So thank you all for being here. I want to remind you of our 2 cards from the very beginning. My healing is already in process, and I love and approve of myself. Okay. I hope y'all have a beautiful rest of your Thursday. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow if you can hang out for a bit. If not, come back on another day. I am going to be here all month, once a day, showing up. Tomorrow, I can't remember what time I have a schedule for tomorrow. Let me double check, and I'll give you a heads up in case you want to plan for it, to come back and hang out with me. So tomorrow's Friday, letter E day, not letter F. And I will be on here in the morning, 11 a.m. Central. So I look forward to seeing y'all bright and early. It's not that bright and early, but earlier than I have been coming on. So see you tomorrow. And I don't know right in this moment what we're going to make or do, but I say we maybe start a little bit of embroidery work in anticipation for Saturday, letter F day, fabric books. Okay. All right. See y'all soon. Thank you for being here. Bye.